Okay, welcome to InsideFlix. This is our weekly box office report. There were some big, surprising results this week. Rich, tell us which movies made the top 5 this past weekend.
The number 1 film in America is Creed 3 with $58.3 million. Coming number 2 is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with $12.8 million. Number 3 is Cocaine Bear with $11.1 million. Number 4 is the new Crunchyroll film Demon Slayer with $10.1 million. Rounding out the top 5 is Jesus Revolution with $8.4 million.
A big result for Michael B. Jordan for his directorial debut for Creed 3.
Yeah.
This did better than what studio expected. What's your thoughts on this number? Because I think this says a lot about, the audience taste for something different than the MCU or comic book movies.
Yeah, I totally thought it was going to be like what you predicted, like 35 to 40 maybe at the max.
Mm-hmm.
But to come, with an extra, almost 20 million extra, that's phenomenal for this franchise.
Yeah, I'm completely blown away because I thought this was going to make like 20 million.
Yeah.
And I watched the movie and I don't think it's that great. I don't think it's very special. So I'm really blown away that people are responding to the movie and that it looks like it's going to have a very strong second weekend hold. And
it's got a lot of good word of mouth for everyone who saw it. Yeah, it comes with a cinema score A- and Rotten Tomato score is 96% of the audience. It's overwhelming positive.
Well, I think if you look at the numbers, it looked like it skewed a little more younger audience. I think it also had a really good Black and Latino audience
turnout.
Yeah, the turnout for Black and Latinos did very well.
Also, I think for a lot of the younger audiences, like the Creed franchise is like fresh. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they haven't seen anything like this before. And what I mean by that is I think a lot of the people that are giving this like A's and stuff haven't seen a Rocky movie before.
Yeah.
Maybe the ones that have are like, a bit more critical because this is a, kind of by the numbers boxing movie. But
well, I think boxing movies inherently has a by the numbers kind of storyline. It's always about
that's true.
Fighting a villain, or it's always about competition. I think you're right. I think that there is a younger generation who has no clue about what the Rocky franchise stood for or what it's about, and really just love Creed and love Michael B. Jordan. And Michael B. Jordan really needed this because his previous attempts for franchising has failed, although he does have like I think a Rainbow Six in the mix. But he really needed this, and it seems like this is his franchise to lead.
Yeah, it being his directorial debut, it really gives him high marks on being a director. And from what he did with this film, I'm pretty sure it was a small production budget, and from what he did with it, I think he did fairly well with it.
Yeah, he did.
I think he did a smart thing here because he went around and said that he was inspired by anime and manga. He was a huge self-professed anime and manga fan. To me, because I did see the movie too, I don't think some of that stuff worked in the film, especially in the final confrontation. I think that actually drew me out of the movie. Yeah. But I could see why a lot of people are saying, well, the fight scenes here are not only totally different, but a lot more exciting. And it's because like it has that manga-inspired fighting sequence or a fighting style.
I wasn't really expecting that kind of manga at the end fight. Didn't make sense.
But I think for anime fans, it makes total sense. Me being more of a traditionalist when it comes for Rocky films kind of known for its gritty, realistic style. This took a different route, but it paid off because it was a huge hit and people seem to really, really love it. Let's talk about its box office future. March is filled with a bunch of movies, big movies. John Wick is just around the corner, and everyone's expecting that to be a huge phenomenon. Does Creed 3, does it have enough to stand the competition, the next couple of weeks of competition?
It has enough to stay in the top 5 for a while. I mean, I think it's going to have at least 2 more weeks in the top 5.
Yeah, I think it's going to probably stick around in the top 5 for, kind of like what we're saying, probably like 2 or 3 more weeks, maybe even 4. But I do think that it's going to have significant drops because, I mean, Scream next week is going to be massive.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of competition.
Yeah, I think Creed 3 came out at the perfect time. It didn't have that many films that they had to compete with. I think the next couple of weeks is going to show if this movie has the power to stand up with some of these big films. Even though if it gets squeezed out of the box office because of the onslaught of new movies, I think with this huge number for this weekend, it's a win for everyone involved in the film.
And now let's talk about the number 2 film, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Another huge drop, almost 60%. That's like nails in the coffin right there. to have a big drop was to be expected, but 60, no, that's just.
And then I'm gonna assume it's gonna have another huge drop next week too.
Oh yeah, it's done for.
I mean, the quality speaks for itself.
All right, let's now get into the rest of the top 10, Rich.
Coming in number 6 is Avatar: The Way of Water. Number 7 is a new film from Guy Ritchie, Operation Fortune. Number 8 is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Number 9 is Magic Mike's Last Dance. And round out the top 10, it's 80 for Brady.
All right, now let's look ahead to next week. Rich, tell us what movies are coming out in theaters this weekend.
Opening up in wide release is Scream 6, the latest installment in the Scream film franchise in which the infamous Ghostface killer hits the savage streets of New York City. Courtney Cox returns as legacy survivor Gail Weathers, as does Scream 4 alum Hayden Panettiere. Also joining the film is Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, and Jasmine Savoy Brown. Also opening up is 65, the new sci-fi action thriller from the writers of Quiet Place, starring Adam Driver as a spaceship pilot who crash lands on an uncharted planet filled with deadly dinosaurs. And Champions, the new basketball comedy from director Bobby Farrelly, starring Woody Harrelson as a disgraced basketball coach who is ordered by the court to coach a team of players with special needs. Opening up in limited release is Unicorn Wars, in theaters and on VOD, a new animated surrealistic horror comedy from the acclaimed Spanish filmmaker and illustrator Alberto Vasquez of Bird Boy: The Forgotten Children fame.
All right, let's talk about Scream 6's prospects. It's got to be probably one of the bigger films of March, right?
Yeah, with popularity of Jenna Ortega, Wednesday fame, it's gonna skyrocket the film, and this is the best place for it.
Also, Scream has I feel like has there's just a big demand for it. Like there's a big popularity for it. Like I've been noticing, and all the movie theaters, and this hasn't really been happening lately for movies. But people have been just buying up all the Scream merchandise, like all the popcorn tubs and soda things, and selling them online. And all the plushies that they sell at the theaters, and people are selling that, and they're selling for like $200, and like for like, you know, a popcorn tin with a cup. Right. And that just makes me think that there's a higher demand for this than ever. In fact, Cinemark they have on their website that you can pre-order popcorn tins and stuff like that just so people can stop buying them on eBay. And they never do stuff like that. You know, they normally don't sell those things online, but they are for Scream. So I think this is going to be a franchise best. Scream 3 had the biggest opening with 34 million. I think this is going to be like a 50 million opening, and it's going to top the 30 million of the last Scream movie.
Well, just look at what Creed 3 was able to do with that film. I think Scream 6 is going to do a little bit better. I think this might come into 60.
You think it could do 60?
Yeah, I think it's going to do 60. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fan base, also the kind of this new 90s nostalgia wave, and also horror fans have been just going to the movie theaters lately. I also like to say that we're now getting to a different stage of IP franchising where it's becoming more less about legacy and more about kind of the new characters. And we saw this in Creed, where Adonis is taking over the Rocky franchise, and I think with this one, a lot of the younger castmates are taking over the franchise. Jenna Ortega is huge right now, and so I think some of these franchises are going to be less about the legacy characters and more about the new characters, and maybe that's the new phase of this type of franchise movies.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a huge number for Scream 6. You know, Scream is always a huge horror franchise winner in these horror conventions. Fans do show up for those things, and they're going to show up for this film, definitely.
Unfortunately, Champions and 65, I'm not expecting, you know, to be huge box office hits.
Let's talk about streaming. What can we stream this week?
On Disney Plus, Chang Can Dunk, a new coming-of-age high school basketball drama. Also streaming this weekend on Netflix is Luther, the Fallen Son. Idris Elba is back as British detective John Luther in this new film adaptation of the acclaimed crime thriller series. Also making its streaming debut on Peacock is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which is the hit animated sequel.
All right. Before we go, because Creed was number one this weekend, boxing's on the mind. Everyone's talking about boxing movies, their favorite boxing movies. Now, obviously, the Rocky films is in everyone's list. Raging Bull is in everyone's list. What other boxing movies that would make it on your list?
Well, there's plenty of good boxing movies out there, but I think one that I kind of want to watch right now is Cinderella Man again.
The Ron Howard, Russell Crowe boxing film?
Yeah. I had that in my mind to rewatch.
Mm-hmm. Raymond, what's some of your favorite boxing movies?
I really like The Fighter.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
with Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale, and I like $1 Million Baby, like Clint Eastwood movie with Hilary Swank, and with Southpaw boxing.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, and Southpaw. I think Southpaw is an underrated boxing movie.
The Jake Gyllenhaal boxing movie?
Yeah, one of his best performances.
Yeah, it's a strong film. For me, I'm going to go Colt. If people love the kind of the anime-inspired boxing films, I would suggest everyone try to find Tokyo Fist. This is a 1990s Japanese film from one of my favorite cult filmmakers, Shinya Tsukamoto. He also stars in it. I wouldn't say it's a boxing movie per se, but it deals with a boxer, and it deals with violence, obsession with violence. A very graphic movie, and very much inspired by anime. There you go. Tokyo Fist, one of my favorite kind of cult movies of the 90s.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that one.
Yeah, I think it's very much in that vein of Fight Club. I would say Fight Club is a good boxing movie if you want to go underground too.
Sure, I'd say even what they've been saying. Most people were saying what was it? Warrior. A lot of people mentioning Warrior when they do the Creed reviews.
Yeah, Warrior's pretty decent.
Which is not a boxing film.
It's a UFC film. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty decent. But I think for the Creed fans, for the Creed 3 fans, you got to recommend Real Steel.
Yeah, if you want to go futuristic. All right, thank you for watching InsideFlix. We'll be back next week. We'll see the results of Scream 6, and we'll talk about the new movies coming out next week. All right, take care.